What type of lawyer do you need for surrogacy? Wait, you need a lawyer for surrogacy? Yeah, and we'll talk about just that in this video. Hello, I'm Corlandos Scott, and I happen to be just that, a surrogacy lawyer, and I absolutely love what I do, helping, at this point, hundreds and hundreds of couples grow their families through surrogacy. So you may be asking, do I need a special attorney? Well, I might be special, but you don't need a special attorney, but you do need an attorney who specializes in this type of practice. And in this video, we're going to cover why you need one and why you need one. We'll also talk about what's a surrogacy attorney anyway. And lastly, we'll cover how is surrogacy law and a surrogacy attorney different from other types of attorneys, like, I don't know, a family law attorney. Stick around. So why do I need a surrogacy lawyer? I told you, I'm going to tell you why you need one and why you need one. First of all, you need one because in most instances, it's the law. Most states that allow surrogacy also call for each party to be represented by their own separate counsel. And this is really for their protection. You want to make sure that before somebody does something as life-changing as carrying and delivering someone else's baby, that there is a legal process that they go through to get there. You just don't want to meet online and knock somebody up and say it's surrogacy. No, we don't do that here on this channel. We do it the right way. So the law states it. But the other reason why you need a surrogacy lawyer is it's kind of just common sense. Think about it. Growing your family is one of the most important decisions you'll make in your life. There's not really a take back on growing your family. There's not really any takesy-backsies on having a baby. So you want to make sure that you're giving it the attention you need. Think about this. Before you buy a house, you do all your due diligence, right? You get a title report, you get closing attorneys, and you do all this crazy paperwork. And that's to be the owner of something you may live in for a handful of years or maybe, 20, 30 years. But in no way are you tied to it for your life. Once a parent, always a parent. So you want to make sure you have someone who can help you cross the T's and dot the I's. So why a surrogacy attorney? Well, it's the same reason why you have a tax attorney or a real estate attorney or a divorce attorney, because they focus on those particular things. I typically don't get my dentist to do my eye exam, and for good reason, right? That's the same reason why you wouldn't want your buddy, who's the real estate attorney, to just write you up a good surrogacy contract. Probably won't work out so well. Trust me, I know people who have done it. One of the things I stress when someone's looking for a surrogacy attorney is this. Find an attorney that will do more than just draft you a contract. It aggravates me to no end when I see my colleagues who only draft a contract and leave the rest in someone else's hands. They'll say, yeah, I'll create you a surrogacy contract, but good luck with the rest of the process. Here's the deal. I've already told you that you need a surrogacy attorney because most states require it by law and because it's common sense. So consider this. It makes sense to have that attorney on with you at the very beginning. Squeeze every dollar you're paying that attorney, squeeze it out of them. Make sure they do more than just draft you a contract. Make sure they're willing to review your agency agreements. Make sure they're willing to sort through the clinic paperwork with you and the consent forms. Make sure they're there for you if something happens throughout the pregnancy. Make sure that they're signing on to represent you throughout a journey and not just draft you a contract. So let's talk about what is a surrogacy attorney. Now, there is no formal accreditation for surrogacy attorneys. There's no formal specialization that state bars offer, but a surrogacy attorney is the type of attorney who has dedicated their practice to the art of assisted reproductive technologies. That's helping people grow their family through third-party reproduction. Now, a surrogacy attorney is going to help you focus on all the legal aspects of going through the surrogacy process. Like, is it legal in your state? What the contract drafted between you and the surrogate needs to include, and drafting that darn thing. Also, making sure you have a court-ordered parentage judgment that proves that you're the parent of a child that someone else delivered. A surrogacy attorney should be knowledgeable of all aspects of the ART, or assisted reproductive technologies process. And trust me, those laws are changing all the time. I think of 2 states recently that just changed their laws, like Washington, that once didn't allow compensated surrogacy or commercial surrogacy, that just began to allow it. Or New York, that had outlawed surrogacy altogether and has just now opened up their borders for surrogacy arrangements. So you want to make sure that you're working with someone who just didn't do it at one point at some time in the past, but someone who's keeping their ears to the ground about what the changes are in the laws where you are. One thing you also want in your surrogacy attorney is someone who's been on both sides of the arrangement. What I mean by that is, like I said, each party needs their own separate attorney. So you want to work with someone who has experience representing surrogates and understands and can see and can advise you about their side of things and their thought processes, as well as an attorney who's also represented other parents and can tell you how to approach that side of things. It also helps if your attorney has represented donors as well, because it's all one big process, and knowledge about the donor side of things plays into how you approach your surrogacy arrangement as well. And the last thing that I'd say about a surrogacy attorney is someone who is active in the surrogacy or the assisted reproduction community. And yeah, just like everything else from basket weaving to football, there's a community around assisted reproduction. You've probably heard the quote, right? It takes a village to raise a child. Well, let me tell you, it takes a whole village to have a child through surrogacy. So you want to make sure whatever attorney you're working with is plugged into that community. They know about resources. They know about cost savings. They know about red flags and roadblocks and good people to work with and bad people to work with, and can steer you along each part of the process. So what makes a surrogacy lawyer different from other lawyers? Or what makes surrogacy law different from other types of law? Well, I get that question all the time. And really, in any type of legal arrangement, especially when we're talking about a contract, there are 2 parties involved. There's a party on one side of the contract and a party on the other side. Surrogacy is a little different because while you have 2 parties on either side of a contract, you also have the common goal of a third party that doesn't even exist yet. When you throw on top of that the fact that there's a lot of other moving pieces and other third parties involved, like doctors and agencies and mental health professionals and nutritionists, then all of this becomes a big ball of confusion. Yeah, that's my Temptations shout out. But you want to make sure that you're working with an attorney who can handle all of that. So one of the questions that I get most often is, you're working with families or hopeful families, so it's basically family law, right? It's not. It's really not. Because when I think about family law, I think about divorce or dissolution, there's child custody, and while there are parts of surrogacy for sure that address child custody, because we want to make sure that the hopeful parent has legal custody, it's different. I think about surrogacy law as family formation law, where we're forming a family, and traditional family law as family deformation law, if you can say that, whereas most family law attorneys are working with how to peacefully resolve dissolving a family or moving a family further apart. I get the honor of working with people to put a family together. So it's definitely different from traditional family law. So tell me this, are you ready to drive home your dream of growing your family? Well, if you are, you're in luck, because I created a roadmap for you to do just that. I call it the Surrogacy Roadmap, and it's absolutely free. You can click the link below to get your surrogacy roadmap, and in that roadmap, I will walk you through each step of the surrogacy process from beginning to end, and you'll know exactly what to do first, second, third, and 15th. So click the link below, get your roadmap, and I'll take you from dream to delivery.